got to show people a path that's been proven with the
Yeah.
results, whether it's for yourself or the ones you did from others. I think a lot of people struggle with, not showing results even for themselves.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining the First Optimal podcast. We have Travis Wallace here. Really excited to have Travis on. Different background. We've had a lot of guests, been very blessed, a lot of different people, a lot of different experiences. But former NBA strength coach Travis, as well as a bunch of other accomplishments in athletics and training and people he's coached. Really pumped to have him on. He's a super busy guy. We stole him away up here. I'm up here in Michigan in the freezing cold, but we stole him away from the beach in Miami for a little bit. No, thanks for joining us, Travis. Appreciate you jumping on.
Appreciate you having me.
Good stuff. Well, for those who don't know you, I mean, let's talk a little bit about who Travis is and what got you to this point. Because I know you're working with all kinds of different men, from executives to former pro athletes to back in the day when they're current pro athletes. Like, you mind walking us through for a moment, just kind of who's Travis? How did you get to this whole fun position you're in life now? And let's get into that.
Yeah, to make a long story short, from Atlanta, fell in love with the game of basketball. It was like every kid, you want to be the next Jordan. You just know you could do it. And all of a sudden you start to realize he was a lot more talented than than you ever expected. So went to college at the University of North Florida, played ball there, then played professionally in Finland and Slovakia. And while I was in Finland and Slovakia, I'm like, all right, I'm not making life changing money. And I'm like, this kind of doesn't make sense anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I doing all this work and I'm not making this type of money? And so I started to ask myself, like, what do I really want to do? Like, what was always my passion? My passion was to go to the NBA, like I said. But I'm like, if I'm not going to do it as a player, how else can I get there? I'm like, I've always told myself I'm going to the NBA. So I'm like, well, I didn't lie to myself. Maybe I just wasn't clear enough by saying, hey, I'm supposed to be a player. I'm supposed to have a jersey on. So stopped playing basketball overseas and came home, back living with your parents. And I'm working at Home Depot. And I'll never forget, I was sitting at lunch and, I had to get a job. So I'm sitting at lunch and I'm eating. And a guy asked the guy, like, how long you been here? One guy's like 2 years. The other guy's like, well, I've been here for 15 years.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I heard that message. And I always tell people, when I tell people this story, I'm like, no disrespect to anybody what they're going, but I knew that wasn't my path.
Right.
I knew that there was something that I was supposed to be doing, and I'll never forget that day in my life. And that's when I said, okay, what am I going to do? And I was extremely depressed at the time because the game was stripped for me. So I would always go to the weight room right after work. Like, I go to the local gym, and I'll never forget walking in those local gyms and all the depression, you're this college Division I basketball player, or you're this overseas basketball player. Instagram was kind of new at the time. So it was like 2014. So all of that little hype that I had just completely went away because I had nothing to post anymore. So I was just going through that real identity shift of, like, who really am I? I'm not an athlete. So what am I? So long story short, like I said, the gym was always some place that I walked into and I just felt like nothing else mattered at the moment. So I'm like, how do I take this feeling that I feel here and then put it with something that's going to get me to the highest level? And as we speed up the story, I went to grad school, became a graduate assistant at Virginia Commonwealth University, known as VCU, and was working with their basketball team, and became a strength coach there. Nice. Then took an internship, and I took an internship at the University of Central Florida. And the only reason I took that internship is because I wanted to be close to the Orlando Magic. And I'm like, if I can just go there every single day, go to, they had like little camps and things like that, and I would just meet people. And long story short, my first paycheck that I ever made 2 years after Home Depot was I signed a contract to be an NBA strength coach. Nice. With a 6-time All-Star, now Olympian and NBA champion, Kyle Lowry. And I was with him for 10 years in the NBA. So that's kind of how it all started. And the shift was after 10 years of working kind of in the NBA, I realized, like, hey, there's somebody else who needs my help more than people who make $30 million a year.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you sharing that, because there's a couple of things you said there that really caught my attention. And I think I'll work from towards the end of the story back. But A lot of coaches out there are good. You know, you played overseas. Obviously, you're right on the fringes of the NBA. So clearly, you could have rested on your laurels there and said, "Hey, I was at this level. I can coach you." But what's interesting, and I think this is what sets a lot of really good coaches apart, and this is kind of why we definitely wanted to have you on the podcast, is that wasn't enough. You went back, graduate school, paid your dues, worked at these different colleges to kind of build it brick by brick and get there. So I commend you for that. I think it's really awesome. And I would encourage anyone listening in too, if you're looking to hire a coach, maybe Travis is the perfect fit. Maybe he's got a certain fit that isn't aligned with you, but you could kind of pull from that story and say, hey, okay, I got to look at, street knowledge, like been there, done that, hands-on experience, as well as the formal education, because you're going to run into speed bumps and you want to have a coach that can look at the broader view there. So that's pretty awesome stuff.
100% appreciate that, man.
Yeah. When you were going through that, like, I'm curious to, like, what were some of the differences you picked up on, if we could start with the high level, working with the top, NBA guys that you've worked with. What were some things that were kind of like, oh, this is different in your training approach, and maybe some things you could use with them that maybe you haven't used in the general population, and then we'll do the other later. We'll do Gen Pop later, but I'm just curious to that first, if you can unpack that a little bit.
Well, before we get like to any like methods or tactics, I'll tell you the first thing that I really learned. It was like, when you see why people are elite at what they do, it's mind blowing to you, because these people have all the money in the world. They have every car that you've ever imagined. Their house is 15,000 square feet, and they're still waking up every single morning, putting the time in for something that if they skip 3 days, nobody in the world would ever know. And when you start to be around these types of people long enough, you realize like greatness is not something that is just like happens by accident.
Right.
Like, you don't build a massive company by accident. It can't happen. And I think a lot of times people have a mindset, even when it comes to their health. They think all of a sudden, I'm just going to get fit, or I'm just going to become healthy, or I'm just going to wake up one day and lose the weight. Like, it's impossible. So to kind of blend those, like, that's the biggest thing that I took from them. Like, it was just like, I've never seen people so elite at what they do and take it so serious,
Yeah.
and put in so much time behind the scenes. I mean, we would fly to Europe for a vacation. The first thing we would do was like go to the gym. He go shoot, he go lift weights, he go do whatever he had to do, to stay on that page while you're making $30 million a year. And that's my biggest thing that I take away. I'm like, people want to be elite in business, they want to be elite in fitness, and I'm like, they require something that it's tough to maintain, but it's possible. And you have to be willing to sustain that and really want, really actually want to become that person you're trying to become.
That's a really great point, because even the example you used of, like, how many times, do people travel and they don't work out at all, or they come back and, like, I ate like crap the whole time, blah, blah. And it's like, but I want the six pack. I want to look this way. And I'm not knocking them, right? Live your life, do what you're going to do. It's no judgment here. It's just a comparison, because I know I've been on trips where I'm like, I'm dialed in. I'm getting up early, especially when I go to the West Coast. I'm like, cool. It's like it's 5 a.m. It's like it's 8 a.m. So I'm gonna get after it. There's other times where I'm like, yeah, I'll get after it when I get home. Like, I'm good. And I always feel worse when I do the latter, right? So it's kind of, I just think for people, as much of I think the vacation will be that much more enjoyable, I guess, is my point. And if you just put those benchmarks in front of all the fun, that actually adds to the fun, I think, and then helps you stay on your journey, because, as you said, it's not, no one's like accidentally turns into a pro or some mega business person or whatever. I think conversely, like, no one also gets out of shape on accident, where it's like, it's not shaming. It's not, sticking your face in it or making fun of someone, but it's like, hey, if you eat like a person who's got an extra 100 pounds of fat on their body, there's about 10 things we could both probably fire off right now that would say, if you do any of these 10 things, that's where you're headed, or that's where you are. We could guess. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's not an accident. Like, I could tell. That's why. Like, that's the start of why. I don't know.
100%.
You see that too?
100%. 100%. It's the habits, it's the everyday habits that, even people like coach now, and you ask them, how did they get to this to the point they're at. And it's like you made a statement earlier that I live by. It's a brick by brick type of mentality.
Yeah.
Whatever way you're going, you're constantly building something, and those are the habits. And it's always one meal, always just one meal, and then it turned to 2 meals, then it turned to a week, and then it turned to 2 weeks. And next thing you know, it's years, 2 years, and I've gained 40 pounds over the last 3 years. And like, how did I get here? As my age is declining, my energy is less, my testosterone is dropping. I don't have the motive anymore. It's like it didn't happen all at once. It's the same way on the flip side. When I was around these athletes, it was like they didn't just start making 15, 20, $30 million at once. Like even when they was in high school and they was in college, those stacking on those days day by day eventually equaled up to a certain type of salary or a certain type of accomplishment that they actually wanted. So I'm just a big believer because of my background that no matter what you do, whatever way you're going, you're stacking some type of brick, and that is going to actually show you, what you're going to build in a matter of time.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people out there don't understand the math. And again, I'm oversimplifying something, but it still drives a good point home. I think if you're just a 200 calories above baseline, like your body needs 3,000, you're eating 3,200. If you do that, um, I believe it was, well, now I might have screwed up my math. Maybe it was 20 calories. Anyways, the point was the volume, how much that can compound up into being 20 pounds of fat loss, or excuse me, a fat gain is just staggering. I mean, let me do the math really quick here. I have it right here. I just did this a minute ago. Yeah, so that's 20. So 200. Actually, if I take 200, that's 20 pounds of fat a year on 200. But if I take 20, and then you see that person at the 20-year reunion, that's 40 pounds over extra excess body fat. That's a lot. That's a lot of fat. Like we know how much the density of fat versus lean body mass, right? Like how much fat, how much space it takes up. That's a lot. That's only 20 calories more a day. That's like extra coffee creamer and ranch dressing or something, like, so I say ranch because it's in my household. Like my girls, they eat too much ranch.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on now. I like ranch, but you get a little crazy. What else? I'm curious of the shift, like when you went from the pro to general population, just for those listening in, like what are some other things that you feel like gave you some insights to be that much better of a coach, or to maybe dial into like that person's mindset or how they're coming to you? Like what are some other things that you pick up on?
Yeah, and one thing that I've, and like I said, I can always pull from my own background. I mean, I think it's a lot of us, we are who we are because of our background and experiences. But I always ask them, like, what do you envision yourself being? Like, if I'm about to coach a client, or let's say I'm on a call where he's trying to make the decision, it's like, all right, who do you see yourself in 6 months to a year? Who does that
Right.
be? And the reason I think like that, because that's how athletes think. All right, if this is my accomplishment, the NBA championship is my accomplishment in 6 months or 8 months at the end of the season, what do I have to do now?
Yes.
Right? What do I have to do now? And like you just said, like we're oversimplifying, but I just feel like sometimes people get so confused by this. And when an athlete loses and doesn't win a championship, he doesn't go back the next year and do the exact same thing. He's like, all
Right.
right, there's something that I have to change in order to be a better player, to score more points, to have less turnovers. There's something that I have to do to change. I think a lot of times in general pop is that mentality is not there all the time.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's
Apologies
like
for that. It's like a ghost came into my little filming room and flicked the light up. I was like, what just happened?
They're yeah, so I think a lot of times Gen Pop, they don't have the idea of who do I want to become. It's one of those things, or what do I want to look like? Because we're on the call for a reason.
Yes.
So if I were to ask you from 6 months from now, does this person need a coach to get to that goal? Because if you would have, that person you are right now would have, if they could do it, they would have already done it. Now,
Right.
when I say that, I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying the person you are right now obviously can't do it because they would have done it. So you
Right.
must become somebody different, whether that's with a coach or without a coach. But the person you are right now won't be able to do it. And I think that's like when I go back and forth to General Pop and work from the NBA, that's how they think. They're like, the player I am now can't do it. So I have to do something different. And
Yeah.
that's the same thing I tell my men. I'm like, hey guys, there's something has to change, because a lot of times they try to bring the same habits into the program. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do that. And it's like you're trying so hard to reach a goal while being the same person you are, and it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, that's that's great because I think the mindset shift, and I would also venture to say there's not many champions out there that in the offseason played the victim mentality or looked at all the reasons why other people or external
Mhm.
factors or why they didn't get to their goals. And it's a big thing. I try to, even with my girls, as annoying as I'm sure it is for them, I try to say no victims in this household. Like, nope,
Mhm.
nope. Oh, this happened, that happened. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Like, now
Mhm.
you take action. And because of that, you're going to find a silver lining. You're going to find a way to lean on it and use it. We're not going to sit back and play victim, which I get it. Maybe a little harsh for people to say. I'm not saying that in a judgmental tone. It's just more about an awareness for people to say, hey, Susie over here who lost 100 pounds, or Bob or whatever, 80
Mhm.
pounds, whatever. And obviously, in a little bit, we'll show some crazy before and afters that you have on your Instagram. But it's like, they weren't coming to me saying, oh, well, it's the day, it's the weather, or
Mhm.
whatever thing they can't control. So
Mhm.
what is it like when they're meeting with you? I'm curious, like, just a new guy comes in,
Mhm.
wants to get training. What are some of those like limiting beliefs they usually have? I know we're
Mhm.
painting with a broad brush here, but I'm just curious, was
Mhm.
anyone listening? What are some things that, are limiting beliefs that you hear them say?
The first things a lot of times you hear men say, they start off with their excuses of why it hasn't happened. And a lot of those excuses are constant in their life. So your wife is not going anywhere, your kids are not going anywhere, your job's not going anywhere. So if we're gonna constantly make these three excuses
Right.
as the excuse that aren't going anywhere,
Right.
why are we even on this call? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? You've left out the constant drinking of the beer. You've left out the constant going out to eat. You've left out all the things that we can remove. Oh, but the job is so stressful. My kids, I got to do this for my kids. And then I have my wife. And I'm like, you're blaming all the things because subconsciously, those things can't be removed. So they're the easiest things to blame for yourself. So it can make sense for you. And that's where, as a coach, you have to be willing to understand that's where they're going with it. And that's why they're in that position.
Right.
And so a lot of the things that I tell other coaches, it's like they're going to say things that can't be removed because subconsciously that makes them feel like, oh, I can't do it. And
Yes.
then you have certain men who will say the things that can remove, very few of them. And those are the ones that usually, if they can get on board, they have a chance to be successful. But like I said, if we're gonna blame something that we know is not going anywhere, we're in an uphill battle. So it's usually the things. It's not food. It's not working out. It's not those types of things. It's that they blame that the job is stressful. I work long hours, and it's like, well, you're successful for a reason. So
Right.
you're going to be busy. Busy is what's going to happen. But however, in 20 years, are we going to say, hey, I was too busy, so I never got my health under control. Now I'm dealing with things that I can't even enjoy my wealth. I can't enjoy my family. I can't enjoy the things that I want to enjoy because I was so busy. And so it's a cycle that never continues. And as a coach, you have to figure out how to break it and get into their mind and show them that there is another alternative for them.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think it's there's so much with mindset, right? With people. I mean, it's important, in my opinion, to work with it depending on where you are in your journey, but for a lot of people, I think the vast majority, they don't necessarily need as much of told what to do, but like how to think about it, how to approach
Mhm.
it, in the mindset. And then the what to do comes in and compounds. But I just find that a lot of people, or a lot of coaches, a lot of people don't listen to how people talk. Like, one of the things we talked about in a meeting recently, I was reminded by a buddy of mine. He wrestled in the Olympics, great superstar, whatever. We were doing a podcast about 6 months ago, and I read a book years ago that had the same saying, but he reminded me, and it was the use of the word try.
Mhm.
He's like, we don't try. He's like, honestly, he grew up in a wrestling room where there was like other guys that wrestled in the Olympics, world champions, whatever. It was just normal to him. But he's like,
Mhm.
I could tell you, Joe, in my childhood, I never heard anyone talk about try in that wrestling room. It was do.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like the same thing. Like, yeah, I'm going to try and lose 50 pounds. Just by using that word try,
Mhm.
you're giving yourself the out to like start
Yeah.
opening the door to failure and doubt and all that. I mean, what do you think about some of those things? You were at a high level athlete. I would imagine the mindset was super important to your playing days, as well as these guys that you're coaching at this high level. Would you agree with some of that stuff, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, 100%. I mean, it's and I'm a big subconscious mind person. I'm huge on that. I'm huge on the conscious mind. What you actually think about, your subconscious mind's all it's going to automatically believe. And with using the word try is giving yourself, if it doesn't happen, you can always say, well, I tried.
Right, right,
It's harder to say I'm going to do something and then
right.
it doesn't happen and you're like, yo, I told myself I was going to do it. So like I said, when you tell yourself you're going to try to do something, you're giving yourself an option of, if it doesn't work out, well, I tried, it just didn't happen. And you can't use those words in a way where, like I said, you're fooling yourself. And you get a lot of guys like that. And what I can say is, as a coach, is and our coach's job is to show people something that they can't see within themselves. And that's the biggest thing that I think has helped me be successful. Now, like I said, my background has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
When you're allowing people at a streamless high level seeing something that they don't even believe in themselves. So to come to these men that I coach now, and I'm like, if I can show you, all right, so let's say you're 250 and you want to be 220, and I can show you exactly how you're going
right,
to be 220 in 100 days if you follow this plan. This is how I've been fortunate enough to get the results that I've gotten, because I've been around people that needed to see the path.
right.
And I think a lot of times this coaching space is getting misconstrued because people really can't show them day by day how they're going to do this in a way that's sustainable. And when you say, hey, I'm gonna strip this, I'm gonna strip this, I'm gonna strip this, you're not gonna do this, you're not gonna do that, you got no chance. You have zero chance with that client, because it's like, well, I'm already in this situation because my life is a certain way, and you want me to do a complete 180 for to lose 20, 30 pounds. Is that going to change my life? Like, what is going to happen when that happens? So it's a lot of moving parts that happen to it, that you have to get them to understand that there's a pathway. You have to be able to show them, and you have to believe in them, that you can see something that they can't see in themselves.
Yeah, no, I think it's spot on. Just like any really good athletic coach, right? It's a lot of similarities there. Um, I'm curious, so like, what is the from the mindset shift process start with? Guy comes in, a lot of excuses, a lot of mental barriers. How long typically does it take to change that? And then how do you approach it? Is it text? Is it more in person stuff, video
Mhm.
stuff? Is it like stuff you have them read? Like, how do you kind of work on the mindset to, I
Mhm.
will get into the other stuff, of course,
Mhm.
but
I mean, yeah, it's constant communication, constant showing them the path of how it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, kind of reinforcing that over and over again. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. I think a lot of people don't use that well enough. If you can show somebody in true numbers, if they do certain things, what exactly is going to happen, it's an easier chance for them to follow it. I think this is, I've always said this, and I have no knock on people who train in person. But this is why I want to say this. This is why I think it's, when I go to the gym now, I see a lot of people training with people, or training with a trainer, and they haven't changed in 2 years. And I'm
yeah,
looking at them, haven't changed 2 years. A lot of that comes from, they don't see the path of how they're going to get to that new version. They just keep showing up, going through their 45-minute workout, going home, walking through that door, and it's 22 hours
yep,
that they're to have no knowledge on of
yep,
what's supposed to happen.
yep,
And the reason the online space has picked up so much and people are able to get results, because there's check-ins, there's accountability calls, there's tracking the food, there's so many different things that are aligned with it, that's forcing people into success when you shift their mindset. I even think myself, if I just train people in a gym and I didn't have the accountability, you're not going to get the result.
right,
You're not going to get it. It's too many. Just eat healthy. What does that even mean?
right.
Everybody thinks they're eating healthy, and they're not. And when they start tracking and understand how food works, so um, sorry, I went on a little tangent there,
No, it's
but it's
perfect.
just, but that's just kind of how how I look at it. I'm like, you got to show people a path that's been proven with the
Yeah,
results, whether it's for yourself or the ones you did from others. I think a lot of people struggle with, not showing results even for themselves. You have to show that to somebody and show them why it's going to work for them. And then all of a sudden, guys kind of get that, that switch. Okay, I see how this is possible. Never said it was going to be easy, but by a week after they finished their first week, and I'm like, look, if you did this for the next 15 weeks, statistically, by numbers, you will be down 20 pounds on the pace we're at. And it's like, that wasn't that difficult. I didn't just throw everything that I implemented some things I do like. I did have to give and take. And the more you coach them up, you're making them believe that it's possible.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I was reminded, I mean, it's been a while, early 2000s when I was in the training space, and it was primarily all in person. But one of I had a lot of trainers I worked with smarter than me, just fantastic coaches, trainers. But the one thing I did different, two things I did different, is kind of under the same one umbrella of thought process, is they would have to warm up 15 minutes before the session. So because other trainers I noticed, they would have to do the warm up during the hour. And I'm like, no, we gotta get our work in. So I'm gonna get 15 minutes times 3 times a week times 52 weeks. That client's gonna get better results than this other trainer's client. And then I would always do their post training cardio and end it on the machine they're gonna be on. I'm like, okay, you're gonna stay here. Like, I'm going over to train Bob now, but you're staying here. Because it's like I literally caught she was younger, like this girl, early 20s, whatever, hiding behind. They had these big pillars. I worked at Lifetime, and these big pillars, like hiding behind it after I stuck her on the treadmill and said 30 minutes. And I'm like, it was like 18 minutes in. I'm watching my thing. I'm looking from across the gym. I'm like, I can see her. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then obviously there was like a nutrition component they had to bring in. But my point in all that is, I think you're dead on, because it's just like the compound effect of these little changes over time. It changes so much. And I also think, tell me what you think about this. So I feel like, from talking to people, including myself, even if I listen to self-talk, but when people, how they self-identify, meaning like they don't say this, but because they've been overweight, they're a overweight person, whatever, they identify with being an overweight person. They have a hard time identifying with being a fit version of themselves. So they almost have to have someone like you, like, coach and give them permission to like make that transition, if that makes sense. Like, I think about when I first started a new sport, I still joke with all my training partners that I still suck at jujitsu, but there was a threshold I crossed where I was like, I'm a guy doing it just to learn a little bit about a new sport, to I'm a jujitsu athlete. And, like I said, not a very good one, but I'm still on my path. So, but it was a shift. And I could tell I looked forward to training, or I would do everything in my power to not miss, because now it was part of like my identity of who I was, becoming as an athlete. I'm curious to like, how does that apply to in your space, and or if there's any similarities maybe that come to mind?
No, definitely. I mean, I think, like I said, I can only speak for the guys I work with, and I'm a successful man, but they don't believe you can be successful and fit.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing. It's not real. It's not possible. I actually was talking to a client the other day. He runs his own HVAC company. He said, all we do is we eat out the truck all the time. We're constantly on the move. It's kind of impossible in this space. And as he's going through the program, he's starting to see that it is possible, and we have to completely switch the mind frame. But as he's looking around, he's like, how can it be done? And now he's starting to see. So, like you're saying, it's the identity shift that you have to have within yourself. Obviously, you want that help from somebody, but it's the same thing as trying to build a business, man. Until you feel like, hey, I'm capable of it, you'll never have success. You'll never feel like you can do it. You look at everybody else and like, how did they do it? And I can't do it. It's like, well, they truly believe that they can do it. And as they went through the hard times and the roller coaster rides that we all go on in business, that's why, because they truly believe they were supposed to be on that roller coaster. And that's why they were end up being successful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about your programs to start. Maybe just wherever you would like to take it, and kind of guide us through the conversation, but just high level. Someone signs up with you. I know we're painting with a broad brush here, but just generally, what does it look like? How many days a week? What are they, what is your typical approach when someone's first coming in? What does that look like?
So we have 3 options. We have an 100-day option where it's kind of like I would say like a foundation. Like we're gonna it's a fat loss phase, and we're gonna strip all that fat off the body completely. All right. So 100 days. You'll also get we obviously work with you guys. where they'll get a standard blood work panel. So they'll be able to actually know what's going on inside their body and understand a little more about themselves. Because a lot of times, it's deeper than food. And people have to understand that. That's where you guys come in and are big help. That you got to look. I always tell people you got to look under the hood sometimes and see what's going on in the engine. You can have a Rolls Royce, but if we got a 1954 Honda in it, it ain't gonna do too well.
Right.
Honda engine in it, it's not gonna do too well. So we go through 100 days, and that just kind of teaches you the basics of it. Like, all right, I can actually lose this weight. Guys train 5 times a week. It's on their schedule. Obviously, depending on people's situation, we can mix and match that. They come in, they take a picture. We look at a lot of their metrics, their weight, their age. I learn about their lifestyle. I ask them a lot of questions of why haven't you been able to reach this goal? Because I don't want to put you in a situation in which is the reason you haven't been able to reach it.
Yeah.
So for example, if food is always your issue, maybe not just throwing out macros at you is the best thing to do.
Right.
And this is one thing I've learned. Like I'm so like strategic. I've always been like, hey, these are your numbers. These are your, and some people are like, hey, I just need to stop going to Burger King, bro.
Right. Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So me giving you, hey, look, man, I want you to 180 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and 225 grams of carbs. Start now. Hey, here's my fitness pal. I want you to scan it. Here's your scale. It's like, yo, I just need to. So I've evolved as a coach by giving guys multiple options of where are you at now. I want to meet you where you are, and
Yeah.
when you're ready to take it to the next level, I'll teach you how to, how people get these results in 100 days easily. But I'm 100. If you're doing my 100 days, I just want to meet you where you're at
Yeah.
and try to get you to a level where you feel it's capable of. And that's kind of my 100 day. And then I have a 200 day where it's like, we strip the fat in the first 100 days, and then I'm teaching you properly how to put that muscle on that you actually want for the look. All right, because a lot of times people, you hear it all the time, everybody's bulking. It's like, no, you don't need to bulk at all, to be
Right.
honest with
Right.
you. Like you actually have 20 pounds of fat that you need to lose. And people don't understand until they get into a coaching space, or maybe they see people like you guys, and it's like people don't understand how much weight can actually be taken off. It's just like, oh, I look fine. It's like, no, you actually have an excessive amount of weight that we can remove.
Right.
So now we implement the calories back in. We start raising them in a way where we're not just like throwing them at the wall. Hey, just eat all this. It's like slowly build it back up. So going through that phase, and then the 365 days is teaching you how to maintain it for life. One thing about me is I always tell my clients, I say, I would love for you to stay, but my idea is for you to never need me ever again. And
Right.
we have a lot of people who stay forever. I have clients who've been with me for 3 years because they like the accountability, they like the structure. But I'm going to
Right.
give you everything you need to know, and then you understand why you haven't, been able to, reach that goal. So for the 100-day, 200 days, you'll get a standard blood work, and then the 365 days, you get a comprehensive blood work panel from you guys. We go a little deeper into it. But it's kind of the same structure, just depends on, where you at and where you're trying to get to. Because a lot of people say like, well, 100 days, I want to lose weight, but then I want to build muscle. Well, then that's better for you for the 200 days. So we strip it, then I teach you how to properly put it back on. And if you're somebody that's like, hey, I want to do a whole year of this, so for the rest of my life, I know exactly how to do it and to maintain where I'm at. They choose the 365 option, and which makes it even better for them because the comprehensive blood work goes a little deeper. So it's just building upon that. And I always tell guys, I say, look, people eat 3 to 5 times a day. I wish I had a calculator on me. I used to always do this, and I say
Yeah.
3 to 5 times a day. You times that by 7. You times that by and you realize how many meals you have throughout the year,
Yeah.
and how many times people wing each meal and have no idea how nutrition actually works. And I'm like, you won't learn the one thing that you're going to do 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 times for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Just learn one time, and I promise you, you'll never feel tight in a suit. That pain that you're having, you can go on vacation, you'll feel comfortable taking your shirt off. Like, there's so much pain that these guys are going through, and I'm like, if I teach you one time and you actually go through a process, you'll never feel that pain again.
Yeah, I mean, I just ran them really quick. I mean, it's almost 8,000 just at 3 times a day, and you throw in a couple desserts here and there. It's almost 8,000 meals in a year. So, or excuse me, 800, I think it was. Yeah, not 8,000. That'd be a little different,
But yeah.
but yeah, it compounds quick. Uh, so actually, my calculator was wrong. I completely just botched that math. How did it do that?
So 4 times 7, was that 4? Say so 4 meals a
Oh,
day.
that's why I'm doing one. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you good.
I was doing one day, but anyways, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like you said, 4 times 7. You said
4 times 7. So that's how many meals you can have in a week. Well,
then
let's be easy for them. Let's give three. Most people eat 3 times a day. So 3 times 7, that's 21 meals a week.
that's what I did. Okay.
21 times 4. 4 was that 84 in a month?
Yeah. So times
Wrong.
52 weeks in a year. So I got it 1,100.
You know?
Just shy of 1,100. Yeah. So my math was off at first.
Yeah.
I put 365, not the number of weeks. I put the number of days in there.
Yeah,
So that's why it
days.
was so big. I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
that's a lot of food.
Mhm. But
And
now you multiply that by, let's say, 30 years is already gone that you didn't learn, obviously.
right.
So let's say God willing gives you another 40 years. And you know what I'm saying? We could do the math all day long. And it's like, why won't you learn this one thing that you do more than anything that you're probably going to do for the rest of your life?
Right.
And it's just, like you said, it's an identity shift. It's a mindset shift. I'm successful. I don't have time to learn how to eat. Or I don't have time to learn how to build the habits and train properly and go through a real program. So, that's why people like us are here to help them.
Yeah. No, for sure. Let's talk about. I want to unpack each phase a little bit, like the guy coming in to drop some fat. Like, what are some common myths or misunderstandings that are showing up with you that you're like, oh, geez, not again? Like, what are the things that are out there that are cluttering guys' minds?
I mean, you always got to start with the carbohydrates, man. It's the number one. I can't eat carbs. I can't, and I always tell guys, man, like if we break it down to the science, like let's talk about what macros are, and just talking to a fifth grader. Protein is going to help you build muscle. Fat is going to help your hormones. Carbs is for energy. So when people look at carbs and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't eat carbs. I'm never going to eat carbs." It's like, well, recently you don't train like that. So yes, those calories that were helping for energy, you wasn't using.
Right.
So they was just wasteless calorie. But now you're actually in a program where if I strip all your carbs away and then ask you to train and then ask you to have energy for work and then ask you to have energy for your kids and actually complete this program, you're gonna fail. Because
Right.
you're gonna get Travis, I'm dead tired. Because that's what they are the energy source. So this is the biggest mind-breaking thing that I have for guys in the beginning. It's like, whoa, oh, whoa. Last time I lost 30 pounds, I took all my carbs away. Okay, so why did you gain 30 pounds again? Because
Bingo.
when I put the carbs back in, my point exactly. You're proving me right. That's my point. And like I always tell people, keto, I have nothing wrong with keto, but the average person can't do it. So I'm not going to teach somebody that they can't sustain it. If somebody came to me like, I'm this keto guy, I just need to know how to train. I understand nutrition. Okay, great. Let's give you a program. If you're short, but the average person is not going to be able to run on keto. They're going to go to a birthday event. They're going to go through a anniversary, a wedding, and they're not going to know what to do because like, well, I can't eat rice. I can't eat potatoes. I can't eat bread. It's like, no, there's a way you go about the food and understand how it works. And nutrient timing is big in my program. Teaching guys why before training sessions, let's try to get some fast digesting carbs in there. And then after training, let's go heavier and let's throughout the day. Let's slow it up, put more fat at the end of the day because that's going to keep you more satiated. So there's a lot of things that guys don't understand. So carbs is like the biggest myth that I hear. It's like, oh, well, did they make you fat? It's like, no. Obviously, there are better carbs, the sweet potatoes, the rice, yeah, than going to get pastries and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the oats, the cream of rices, the veggies, the things that can actually help you and give you that energy source that you need. So that is the number one thing, man, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense, and I think you're spot on because every time it's like, well, why'd you put it back on? Like, it's, but yeah, it's and I would. It sounds like too. You put a little more carbs around the training, like before and after. Is that generally when you talk about timing? Is that generally what you do to try to?
Exactly. So I try to give guys, depending on when they train, everybody's completely
Yeah.
different. But if it's in the morning, I'd say, hey, look, let's try to sneak in at least 30 grams of banana is like 28 grams of carbs. So let's just sneak in 30 grams of carbs. or some oatmeal, something that your stomach can sustain.
Right.
An hour later, let's go train. When we come back, let's fill the muscles up with glycogen and protein, and let's save the fat for later. So let's say we had egg whites, we had oats, we had our protein shake. If you want a bagel, whatever your macros are, and you're realizing that is high protein because of the egg whites and the protein shake, and then you have your fast digesting carbs, and we try to save our fats later on the day
Yeah.
because as your calories start decreasing throughout the day, you want to have something that's going to keep you full.
Right.
And those are the things that that guys are starting to learn. Like, hey man, I wasn't that hungry today. It's because and they're in a calorie deficit now. But it's like the way that you programmed it, the way that you structured it, it made it extremely easy for you because you understand how it works now.
Right.
So like I tell guys, there's no diet. I don't give guys any diets. I just say, hey, look, if you want to learn how, I'll give you structure. I'll give you meals if you don't want to, get into all that. But my guys who are ready for everything, I'm like, there's nothing off limits, nothing. But let you know when you understand how numbers work, when you go get those Oreos, that little one cookie is going to take up a big percent of the calories that you have and your fats and your carbs. And you're like, is this cookie worth it? No, it's not. And then they start understanding why people, why 75% of people are overweight. It's like, well, I don't eat. It's like, well, yeah, the things you do eat, look what they do for you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's kind of like, it's just like school all over again. Obviously, they don't teach this stuff in education.
Right.
So it's like actually teaching, a kid, no disrespect to a grown man, but it's like actually it's how I approach it. It's like you're teaching a kid something that they've never thought was possible, and they slowly start to understand.
Well, yeah, they're never taught it, right? And it's kind of like when people have these symptoms, they think it's like just me, unique to me. It's like, oh, like I snack always at night, and then you're like, well, you didn't get enough carbohydrates, you have no fat in your diet, you skip meals, like so. Okay, we're gonna refill, like you said, the glycogen storage is when it's insulin's most sensitive around exercise or post exercise, whatever.
Mhm.
Now you're nice and full, feeling good, and like you said, the fats later at night, that's gonna really curb those hunger signaling a lot and then help them
Mhm.
actually get, in most cases over time, get better, deeper sleep and recover better. So yeah, it makes sense. It lines up. And that's where I think it's great, if people are just comfortable sharing their symptoms and their obstacles, usually you can pinpoint why it's happening at
Mhm.
that time or what's going on, or at least give them some strategies to work around it. So
Mhm.
what about the guys trying to put on lean body mass, or I'm done losing the
Mhm.
fat and I want to put on muscle? Like, what are some common
Mhm.
myths or misconceptions that are out there?
So a lot of the common myths that we have is, and this is where I mean, like I said, I'm a big strategy guy. I think a lot of times when we strip the fat, they choose certain foods, and then you got to reteach them foods all over again because their goal is different. So now that your goal is different, we need our calories to shoot up a little higher. So now we need to choose different foods. Because if I eat the same foods that I ate on my cut or my fat loss phase, it's going to take me a long time. So if I'm eating 2,000 calories and I want to eat 3,000 calories, but the exact same food, it's possible, but it's going to be a lot more food. So like now, what foods can we choose that help us shoot up a little quicker? So on the fat loss phase, maybe we was going cod, tuna, tilapia. Now let's switch that to some salmon because it's a little fatty with the same amount of protein, but we need those to shoot our calories up. So we're still picking great options, but helping them understand how food actually works
Yeah.
to make the game easier for them. So I think there's a lot of struggles. Like, well, Travis, I'm trying to put on weight now. It's like, well, yes, we may have to switch some foods around, add some different food groups, um, food choices, I should say, in order to put that correct muscle on. We don't want to go to Pizza Hut. We don't want to go to Burt. That's not what we want to do. We want to
Right.
do it the right way. But how can we make this easier for you? And I think that is a game changer for people when they understand what they're trying to do. So, what does this require? Like I said, if I'm trying to drop, I mean, tilapia, tuna, cod, chicken have to be my go-tos. And then when I'm trying to, and you could obviously have salmon and steak in there, but now it's going to shoot your fat up a lot. It's gonna make the game a little harder, which is okay. But on the flip side, when I'm trying to put on some size, now we got to go more to the salmon, the steak, because we need the fat to shoot our calories up. Because obviously they're more grams per calorie than proteins and carbs. So it's it sounds complicated, but obviously when you're in the program, you have the
Yeah.
structure, you have a coach. It's like, okay, this becomes clockwork for my guys.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. Like, what I hear you saying, and just for those out there, different strategies, slight adjustments for different goals, compounded over time, give bigger, better results. Like,
Mhm.
someone maybe is someone still gets the results when they ate chicken instead of steak while they're putting on muscle? Probably. Are
Yeah,
they gonna get there as
yeah, yeah.
fast? Maybe not. Like,
Yeah.
there's just certain micronutrients that are going to be in that steak, the fat, as you mentioned, that based on the reason behind why you're doing it is going to help speed that up. So I think that's a key one. I was going to ask a follow-up question on nutrition too. Like when guys are coming in, and again, just anything that comes to mind. I mean, I'm just
Mhm.
curious, is there a micro or macronutrient, either of the two, that, yeah, we already talked about carbs, I guess. So is there
Yeah.
another nutrient or nutrient source that you find is often just glaringly missing from their diet? And you're like, oh my gosh, like how does this guy not get this
Mhm.
stuff in his diet? Like, is
Mhm.
there anything that comes to mind?
Nothing really comes to mind, but I mean, it's mostly carbs, like I was saying, and I mean, especially with guys as they get older, as testosterone starts to drop, they have to understand what fat actually does for them. I
Yeah.
think that is big. So those are two because everybody kind of understands protein to a certain extent. Like a
Sure.
lot of people choose the wrong proteins over and over and over and over again. So they're like, "Well, I'm eating my protein." But I'm like, "Yeah, well, your fat levels are through the roof as
Right.
well." So
Right.
it's like, yeah, you're eating protein, but you're choosing the wrong choices constantly. So in terms of like I said, in terms of macros, usually it's the carbs and the fats that you understanding that your fat's too low, you're getting older, your testosterone's dropping, fats are there to promote your hormones. So it's just like, kind of restructuring everything. And then just when you start talking about vitamins and and the supplements that you're not going to get from food or it's hard to get from food, you start to
Yeah.
realize, that they just they've never done it or they never cared for it. So, but those are the two main ones for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's helpful. I mean, I think it's a great point though about getting guys to understand the percent. Like even I don't know if you have any rules or if you just kind of coach them through it, but I
Mhm.
heard one dietitian once had like a rule. Now, of course, I'm going to draw blanks. I don't want to state it because I don't want to misrepresent it, but it was a
Yeah.
certain percent of calories are protein, then it's a protein source. And
Mhm.
if not, it's a no-go, meaning like I'm making this up. Let's say there's a
Yeah.
1,000 calories in like Burger King or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
oh, Burger King's bad. Like, I already know
Yeah.
not to eat it. But take the brand off of it, just this burger.
Yeah.
But it was like 30% of it's fat.
Mhm.
So it's like, well, that would not be a good ratio, but
Mhm.
maybe you could get a burger that's 90-10.
Mhm.
And then maybe it's like, okay, well, this is pretty dang lean now. So now it just kind of gives you a little more. 95 or 96 4, I think, is the highest that you can have.
Yeah.
I'd eat that whenever I'm dieting. It's so dry. It's like
But
dry at first. I need
but
my
but
flavor.
but what you're saying is so crucial, man, when it comes to nutrition. It's like I teach heavy on salmon. I think it's one of the easiest things that I can teach people because a lot of people eat salmon every day, and I'm not against salmon every day, but I have them flip the nutrition label over it. I'm like, all right, so you're about to get 28 grams of protein for 26 grams of fat, right? And let's say you have 50 grams of fat a day. That is half of your fat for the day during your cutting
Right.
phase. But if you just substitute that for a chicken breast, now you're at 30 grams of protein with 0 gram of fat. And now to help you sustain this diet, the things that you like, there might be something that is not the best macronutrient things you choose, but now you have room to still fit it in there. And now you never feel like you're doing something you can't sustain. So there's so many things that you have to coach people on for them to understand because I'm never going to take everything away from a grown person. Like that's just you do that to somebody grown. It's like, well, I'm just the fact you said that, I'm gonna go do it.
Right.
It's just
Right.
like how it works. So it's like, all right, there's my number one question. What's one thing that you wish you could eat for the rest of life? That's what I asked them. If you had to pick one thing that you eat right now for the rest of your life, what would it be? Something that you like. And if a guy's like, I don't know, a Reese cup, I gotta have a Reese cup every day. How do we fit that Reese cup into this diet, into this nutrition, into this? Obviously, the answer would be like, let's not. But if they had to, you
Right.
have to be able to teach them how they can do it. And eventually, you know what happens? Man, this Reese cup ain't even worth it, man. Like,
Yep.
but you have to be able to teach them that. So they're like, oh, I had my Reese's for a week, and it's like, you know what, man, I don't even need it. Then
Right.
it's like, Hey, but I showed you it can be done because I hate when people strip everything away from themselves. And this is why diets don't work for people. They take
Yep.
everything. New Year, I'm not eating this. I'm not drinking this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Everything that you like, you just threw out the window.
Right.
You're eventually going to go back to it. So,
Yep.
how do you teach yourself how to have some structure with the things you like?
Yeah, it's just like the old saying, right? Like progress over perfection. Like just fix one meal or fix one source. Like, okay, I'm gonna start eating the lean beef now, but then the other
Mhm.
stuff I'm not gonna change just yet. But then to layer it in. Yeah, no, I was gonna shift a little bit because I had some questions about
Mhm.
I guess my last question on the misconception or misunderstanding would be around strength training. Like
Mhm.
I have some theories from as far as men and what's missing in their program, but I'm curious, like, what do you see that's either lacking or the way they set up their program from a strength training or
Mhm.
yeah, we'll start with strength training. With strength training
Mhm.
standpoint, are there certain things you see missing or misunderstandings when a guy comes in or he wants to train
Mhm.
one certain area too much, or like, is there
Mhm.
anything you see there?
There's two things that I see. Obviously, like I said, my target my target market is different from a lot of people's, but cardio for some reason it's like they're safe haven. It's like, yeah, I get on my elliptical, I do my, my 45 minutes on my elliptical, probably lift weights for about 20 minutes, and you start breaking it down, and like there's two things. They do excessive cardio because in their mind, that is like their mind, they're sweating, they're burning calories, and I'm like, but nothing has changed since you started doing that, so why do you keep doing that? And I always tell them, I said, if something wasn't working in your business, if it wasn't producing, you would
Right,
change something.
right,
But when it comes to this, it's like, no, I'm gonna keep doing it because it becomes a checking a box. Oh, I went to the gym, or I'm eating healthy. So that, and then I think also when it comes to intensity, and intensity doesn't mean picking up the whole gym. Like that's not what I have my guys do. But I rather saying, hey, instead of doing 12 exercises like I've seen you do when you've told me what you do, let's do 5, 6 good exercises with full intent, a good amount of sets. And I want you to focus on every single rep and do it properly. Because a lot of guys, they go in there with 10, 12 exercises. There's no way you're going to give the intensity on exercise 4 when you know you got 7 more to go. So that's one shift that I have, my guys. I'm like, because the time is not on their favor for sure.
right.
So there's like, time is not in my favor, but I'm gonna go do 12 exercises and I'm not gonna really do much. So how about we do 5, 6, and you give me everything you got, and we start from that, we start from that point. So it's like a little switch in their mind. I always bring it back to business. I'm like, if something's not working, why would you keep doing it?
Right.
And a lot of us are in business, and I'm like, if something's not working after a while, I'm like, all right, what's the diagnostic on this? How can I fix it? How can I stop that leak? And that's what you do. So it's just trying to explain that to them. But that's the biggest thing. It's like they do a million exercises and do so much cardio, and the intensity is extremely low, and they're never getting the result they want because there's not enough stress in terms of ripping muscle fibers and getting the result they actually want with the proper nutrition.
Yeah, no, I think spot on because I also think with cardio, it's like oversimplified for a lot of people. And I'm not saying everyone has to like track every minute of a heart rate
Mhm.
monitor, but I used to use the analogy of like not knowing your heart rate is like not knowing how much weight is on the weight stack when you're lifting.
Mhm.
So it's just like, when are you doing base building? When are you doing interval training? When are you doing steady state? Like just different tools. A lot of, especially guys, because we
Mhm.
just inherently guys don't like cardio.
Yeah.
So it's like at least I can speak for the ones I've met over my 40 something odd years in
Mhm.
life. Um, but if you have a strategy, although cardio still sucks for the most part,
Mhm.
it's like it's
Yeah.
still you actually are, you're gaining more ground, you're gaining more on that. So
You know
um
what else is huge, man? I track they track all their steps, and I think
oh nice.
that has become a game changer. We increase every phase 10,000, 11,000. I got guys walking 14, 50,000 steps now, and it just changes the game for them. And it's just kind of like they're conscious of it now. They do different things, and like I'm a big zone 2 guy. Like
Yeah.
I believe in it, but
Yes.
I believe in it to a certain extent of you understanding why you're doing it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So if statistics say we need to be in zone 2, and you're wearing some type of monitor and you're in zone 1 for 40 minutes, technically you was not in the fat burning zone, as the people smarter than me have said. So it's just like teaching them, like, hey, are you going to do 40 minutes in zone 1, or do we want to try to do 20 minutes and make sure you're actually moving where your heart rate is actually in zone 2 so you can actually burn some fat? So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and just trying to get them to understand it without, oversimplifying it for them.
No, but I think you're spot on too. Like I didn't bring that up earlier, but I'm glad you did. Steps, like as basic and easy as it sounds, it's like I always tell people like fiber, water, steps, sunlight, sleep. Like if you get to like those are like 5 free things that you don't need equipment for, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't need equipment for any of those. I just had to think about what I said, but and I'm like, I even had one guy that was gonna work with us for some other therapies. I was like, do that and come back in a month. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, no. I was like, what do I owe you? No, just go do that for like, because he was kind of on the fence anyways, but there's a little more, he had some blood sugar issues and all that. I'm like, let's see what happens first before we get too hands-on with the protocol.
But I'm glad you said that, Joe. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on the podcast with you, because I think now in this space, people like are running to you guys, and just the market in general. And it's like, if you guys don't teach them that type of stuff, it becomes a bad rap on the peptide and the supplement business,
Right.
because it's like, hey man, I did everything you told me to do. And it's like, well, it's never going to outwork these types of things. So I'm
Yes.
so glad you said that, because when people come to me, they're like, hey, like I had a guy the other day, he's like, hey man, like what peptide should I be doing? I said, how's your nutrition? And it just like
Yeah.
hit him. It's like a brick. It's like I hit him
What do
with
you mean?
bricks. And it's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And I'm like, how's your nutrition? Well, I'm like, no, these things are not going to put you to a place that you just, if you just can't. People talk about Ozempic and GLP-1s. It's like, all right, if it suppresses your appetite and you don't build habits, when you stop and if you don't understand how food works, you're going to be in the same position. So people
Right.
like you, to give them the education that you guys put on top of it, of building the habits, that's how you help people. But so many times people are like, oh, I bought all these peptides and it didn't work, and
Right.
I did this and that, and it's like, yes, but you change 0 habits.
Yeah, they're like, it doesn't work for me. It's like, are you a human? I'm like, well, because all a peptide is a chain of amino acids that's mimicked like in the body. You naturally produce it. So yeah, it does work. It's just
So
it's just the application. I did want to pull this up and just maybe for those listening on audio. So we're pulling up Travis's Instagram, the Travis Wallace. Definitely recommend giving him a follow. He's got a lot of great posts, great content, but really cool stuff. I'm going to just go through for those on video, just some of these before and afters. I mean, these are some pretty awesome changes, but I think the key, like, yeah, you have some other ones later on, but the key is to like, there was an old book in the 90s that I bought, and it was called, and I thought of this when I saw your pictures, like it was a diet for people who aren't fat is what the title was. And it was more about like how to get like shredded. And like, hey, you're walking around 14, 16% body fat. Like, how do you get single digit? How do you get, 5, 6, 8, whatever. But yeah, well, I mean, just I don't know if you want to. Is there any of these that you want to maybe lean in on a little bit, talk about their story, and just kind of how?
I'll talk about one, guys. So go back, exit out, and he's actually by himself.
Okay.
Yep, that guy right there, right there.
This
Right,
one?
no, up, nope, up, no, not him.
The red,
Yep,
the
right
beat,
there,
that one. Okay.
right there. So that's one of my clients, Joseph, and he owns an insurance company. He's married, has a kid, and the reason I want to highlight him is because he's the CEO of a company. He has all the excuses. He built the company, has a nice salary, all the things you can name above. And he came to me and he proved to me that I could really help these people. He was the one who gave me like the green light of like, yo, you can really do this because you understand us from a certain mindset of, it's the same thing as an athlete. It's just the same
Right.
thing. We want to be taught to that. We just want structure. We just want to understand how it's done. We just want somebody to believe in us that we can do it. So at all my transformations, not in terms of who looked the best and all that, but the situation they was in, and giving people the green light to say, hey, look, you do have permission to go be that version that you see in yourself. And he was a big piece to that, because, I mean, this guy leads, I don't know how many people, 50, 60 people. And he didn't even look at the transformation as a physical transformation. He looked at it more as like, I wanted to set the tone for the people I lead. I want to wake up every morning and not make excuses. I want to eat every meal I'm supposed to eat because I know why I'm eating it. And it's the same way in my business. I know the numbers, I know everything, I know what's working and what's not. And he was a big piece to that and letting people understand that, hey, look, it's possible.
Yeah, how much, I mean, I know he put on a lot of muscle too, but like
Yeah.
how much overall, I don't know if you know body fat differences,
Yeah.
but just weight changes, like what, 'cause
Oh
that's
yeah,
a
man. Yeah,
pretty
he probably easily, I think he lost 35 pounds if I remember correctly. And body fat, he dropped like 17, 18%
nice.
of straight body fat. So he did an amazing job. But yeah, man, it was just, his story was really kind of the reasoning of why I wanted to pinpoint him, because it's like it can be done. And there's nobody that tells me that they don't want to be fit. I don't care who you ask. Are you willing to do it? No, but everybody on this planet Earth wants to be fit. If we could all snap our fingers and be like, do you want to be fit? 100% of people will snap their fingers and say yes.
Right. No, 100%. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Travis. For those out there listening in, we'll have all of Travis's contact info in the show notes, and we'll have it on our website and some other areas too. But I really appreciate you coming on, bringing in a lot of good knowledge and information out there. Any other places people could follow you at, or if it's just Instagram, maybe if you want to repeat that for the group, or
It's Instagram, the Travis Wallace. Twitter is Travis X Wallace. Threads is is the Travis Wallace as well. And then the website is theformulafactory.com.
formulafactory.com. Good
Yep.
stuff. Well, for everybody out there listening, thanks again for tuning into the episode. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel. Our guests are super busy. They're all very successful coaches with packed schedules, and they're taking time out to give out some free content and tips for everybody. So we definitely appreciate that. But if you have questions for Travis, we have a direct line to him. Feel free to put them in the comments, reach out to First Optimal. We'll be sure to get you in touch with Travis. I'm sure him and his team will be gladly answer him, help you out on your way. Great coach. I know a lot of guys have worked with him. The proof's in his Instagram too. But I would encourage you guys to check him out and take a look. So thanks again, Travis. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me, Joe.
All right, guys. We'll see you.